Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here, columnist Jeremy Price. That camera sort of blacked out on us for a second there. You might have heard me cursing it, and I didn't know if we were on or not. Anyway, we're here at Michigan State. We're at the Breslin Center. Magic Johnson framing in the background. He was here tonight and saw a pretty phenomenal basketball game. Indiana wins in this building for the first time since 1991. I think the only guy who was alive on this team at this point was Jordan Halls, and he was apparently just barely alive, or
Actually,
had
I
just
believe,
been born slightly earlier.
somebody said Derek Elston and Mo Creek, I think, also,
Yeah.
just barely. But
That makes sense. But yeah, well, not barely alive. That's not the word we're looking for. They had not been alive for very long.
Not very old, yes.
Is the point.
Yes.
I don't think they were in any sort of touch and go situation at that point. But anyway, so Indiana breaks a huge streak of losing here, 17 games, and did it in just a game that is huge on just so many levels. One puts Indiana in sole control of the Big Ten. They've got a full game lead on Michigan State, plus they won both head-to-head matchups with the Spartans, which is huge. So basically, it's almost a two-game lead, effectively,
Yes.
more or less. I mean, they can lose two. It takes them losing two games and Michigan State winning out. For Michigan State to get the title in the first round bye, or not the first round bye, the number one seed in the Big Ten tournament in that case. So a huge one. Also, I think, this really puts Indiana, just in case they weren't there already, very much in the driver's seat for a number one seed in the NCAA tournament. Could probably even lose in the Big Ten tournament and still get it, I think, at this point, if they continue to play solid and continue winning through the rest of the year. But it's huge on a number of levels, and the biggest reason that Indiana was able to pull this game out, which was just a very ferociously played game, really back and forth, really close, lived up to the hype. But Victor Oladipo on a bum ankle that he says was 85 to 90%. Tom Crean at least hinted that it wasn't even that much. 19 points, 9 rebounds, and really just won the game in the last 43 seconds.
I would gladly trade ankles with Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, he's got more explosion in his than we've got on our best days ever, by a long shot. But yeah, how good was Victor in the last minute of this game?
Well, once again, Victor continues to show that knack for coming up with a big play at the big time. Even before that last minute, he had a big steal there about the 5.5 minute mark. Indiana had just gone down one. Phenomenal steal and dunk.
We saw it in the press room as we were waiting, I think, for Crean to come on, and we'd seen it from underneath. We were underneath the basket when we saw it, and that I don't think our angle did it justice. Not that we've got any complaints for our seats. We were really hooked up well for this one, but the angle didn't really show as just how hard it was, or what kind of position he was in, how close he was to coming out of bounds, to somehow be able to flip that thing at Yogi Ferrell and get it to somebody. In a case that he could continue the fast break. It wasn't just that he got to it, that he kept it in bounds. It was that he found Ferrell, managed to redirect it backwards at his point guard, then get back on the floor, get forward, and, get in a position where he could have an easy fast break dunk. It was just a phenomenal play all around. And that was big. It doesn't sort of stand out the same way that the rest of them do, because Michigan State had just battled back, just got the lead, and Indiana answered. Now, Michigan State would take a bigger lead after that, but that kind of quieted things down. That was one of a few things that quieted things down, but that was, I think, a huge play. And then, again, the last 43 seconds.
Yeah, as it turns out, that was just kind of the warm-up act for the last 43 seconds. Tip in, which was also his 1,000 and 1,001st career points at Indiana. Not bad timing to get that on the go-ahead basket with 43 seconds left.
Puts him up 68 to 67.
Then got the run-out dunk with, there was 10 seconds left when they started the play. I guess about 7 seconds when he dunked it.
I think it was 13 and it ended at 10, but still, point being.
And then got the rebound on the Gary Harris missed free throw and made 2 free throws to seal it there with a couple seconds left. So just made the big plays, and honestly, watching him, if I didn't know that he had a bad ankle, there was no play where I said, "Oh, Victor would have done this if his ankle was fully healthy." He looked like a guy that was fully healthy.
Pretty close. I thought he looked a little bit, not the word I would use wasn't hobble, but there was something there that was a little bit less than 100%. Like, it just seemed like there was just a little bit of a limp to it, not really, but there was just something that wasn't quite as quick, but it didn't matter. All three of those plays. What's impressive is not just that he played well. You've seen over the course of a course of sports history, basketball history, a lot of guys who have played well in games when they were injured, but in most of those games, they had to adjust somehow. They had to play understanding that they were injured, maybe more of a floor-based game where you're just sort of winning off a hustle or winning off of smarts or intelligence. Oladipo still played above the rim. in every way. I mean, all the major plays were ones that he had to go up and make happen above the rim, especially the tip in. I mean, he really just kind of snuck around Denzel Valentine. Valentine just never saw him, and he goes straight up in the air and tips it in. Just straight up, just kind of exploded from more or less a standing, just a straight standing situation, more or less, just to get up and tip it in. That play, and obviously the dunk, he has to just outrun everybody. And, the speed he's got is just phenomenal. But, I mean, he's, in a dead sprint just to beat everybody down the floor. Nobody saw him. Everybody was just, getting around Jordan Hulls, expecting he was going to get the ball because they would want him to shoot the free throws. And he just beat them all. And then got up above the rim, dunk, brought it down. It was nuts.
And the interesting thing about that, the run-out dunk play, I thought, was Crean alluded to this in the post-game press conference, that it was kind of at the suggestion of Christian Watford, that be the play they run. And I actually asked Christian about that afterwards, and he said, yeah, he liked that play because he had more people coming to the ball on that play. And as it turns out, the one person going away from the ball was the one who wound up open, which he said normally people take that away, but in this case, they opted to try and double-team Hulls because they didn't want him shooting free throws or whatever, and Victor popped open, and so he made the pass.
Yeah, let's since we're on Christian, we got to kind of, I think we should transit at this point. Obviously, Oladipo's performance is huge in so many ways, and I think maybe tonight. I mean, obviously these things change on a daily basis, but tonight he might be Player of the Year frontrunner from this. I mean, it was that big of a performance. Him and Zeller will go back and forth, the Mason Plumlees of the world. Ben McLemore, Doug McDermott. I mean, there's a lot of guys who belong. Oladipo had that big of a performance tonight, but Christian Watford. As you said with that pass, I mean, that's a huge, very, very heady play by a senior. But he had an interesting night, I thought, and the fact that he was able to overcome a lot, I think, said a lot to his maturity. Tom Crean said, he made big plays all night. He wasn't affected by some things. I mean, I thought he was affected personally by the flagrant foul that he got called on for, for very accidentally, I thought, hitting Adrian Payne. In the face, in the nose, maybe, and he was just kind of driving, pulled his arm up and got, hit the guy, and, I didn't get a great look at it. I didn't get a chance to see replay of it yet, but they called it a flagrant, and it seemed like that shook him up a little bit. He had an air ball in there, and there was a couple of just tough plays, that he had throughout. It seemed like he was sort of had to battle to overcome some things, but he hits just a huge three-point play. When Indiana's down 4, Watford goes to the lane and hits a senior's play, and as Tom Crean put it, a really grown man play. To get in there, get hacked pretty hard by Adrian Payne, somehow managed to keep his composure, keep his footing, keep his balance, and just sort of throw one in and get the bucket there. That was huge. And then again, like you said, to be able to really call that play, to be the guy in the huddle that says, this is what I want to do, this is going to work. Really big for Watford to get it back together and make 2 huge plays there.
Yeah, and just another sign of maturity for the guy that's shown a lot of maturity and a lot of growth this year. Season.
So much.
I'm sure that flagrant foul kind of stuck with him, and it clearly bothered him for a few minutes, but he was able to shake it off when he needed to, and make the big plays, and really in a way, sort of a microcosm of the IU team as a whole tonight, being able to shake off a lot of adversity in that second half, especially when Michigan State was making the run. The crowd's going crazy. Maybe the calls aren't going your way, whatever the case may be. They found a way to come up with big plays in the end and playing from behind, which is something this team hasn't had to do very much this season.
No, exactly. There was a lot of that, and individually guys, I think, had to overcome. I mean, sort of adversity with a lowercase a. We're not talking about huge things here, but a lot of guys who had some tough matchups, for whom Michigan State is a very tough matchup, managed to step up big in different ways. Jordy Hulls, this is a tough game for Jordy Hulls. He had to run around and try to guard Gary Harris tonight, and sometimes Harris very much got the best of him. He went for 19 points, but Hulls hit some monster shots. Some huge shots. And he never quit on defense. I mean, it wasn't like he was getting beleaguered or everything. It's just a tough matchup for him. He's given up a lot of length and a lot of athleticism there. But he came back and just kept hitting big shots, 4 huge three-pointers, most of which came at critical times. There was one he had to hit from 35 feet. Maybe it wasn't that far, but, I mean, it had to be.
I saw a picture on Twitter that showed it.
Was deep.
Probably a good 27, 28 feet would probably not be stretching it.
It was a bomb. I mean, and he hit some huge ones. Watford, dealing with Adrian Payne all day and Derek Nix all day is a rough rough night. It beats you up, and he managed to do that. Go through some of his struggles, the air ball, the flagrant, got past that. Cody Zeller, I thought, especially early, they established him very early. He had 17 points, goes over 1,000 for his career. Those four guys, Watford, Holes, Oladipo, and Zeller, it's the first time ever that Indiana's had four guys in the same team with 1,000 points career-wise. That they've all been on the floor with 1,000 career points at the same time. It's a pretty amazing accomplishment for these guys, considering what all of those guys have had to go through, all the losses that they suffered early on in their careers. But just for all of those reasons, all that we mentioned, Indiana is very much in control of the Big Ten. Very much in kind of control of its own destiny for a 1 seed, the number 1 team in the country. They'll have it for another week because they're off this weekend. And this is as big of a statement, I think. And we keep seeing more of them. The Ohio State road win, the Michigan game back then. But this is your new biggest statement game, I think, in Indiana's season.
Yeah, that's 2 huge road wins now in the last 2 weeks. And you've got 2 huge road games left. And they put themselves in a position where if they take care of the home games, all they have to do is win one of those 2 games on the road, and the Big Ten title's there.
Yeah, it's there. It's right there. Thanks, guys.